Hello and welcome back to the final video in our content submission series. This video will be focusing on the events and training submission process and how you can share your event with us or training or workshop that you might have. And as mentioned in the previous videos, this allows you to put your message across all of our channels, including the SAVS app, the SAVS website, our social media, and any other channels that we may have in future. And this form really is for promoting any events, like I mentioned earlier. So if you've got a community event, a fundraising event, workshop or training opportunity in Southend or the surrounding area, then you can populate this form below. And then once that comes through to us, we'll then share that across our weekly email and our social media in due course. All content is moderated before publication. So all that means is that a member of staff here at SAVS will review the content before it's made live, and they'll review that to make sure that all the content looks okay and that it all appears okay and there's no obvious issues in that process. Please do obtain permission for anything that you do want us to promote, for instance for imagery, or make sure that you do have permission on behalf of the organisation or the group that you're sending in content for. And likewise, if there are any quotes or content in your submission that need permission to use, please make sure that that permission is obtained, because SAVS will not be able to help facilitate that for you if the permission isn't obtained. And if we do get a query about any content, we will put the content on hold or we'll make it a draft just while any issues with permission are resolved. So I've actually already submitted a event, so you can already see what happens when you get a successful submission of the form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly reload the page. Okay, we're going to try something different because it is remained there on the submission that I sent. And we're back. So I've reloaded the page to make sure that it appears properly, and we'll make sure that we include an option in future that lets you submit another piece of content once your submission has gone through. So there we go. We've learned something that we need to add while filming the video, which is always a positive. Always a positive. So if you've watched the two other videos, you'll notice that a lot of this is probably looking fairly familiar at this point, just with some slight differences compared to the sector job form as well as the news and information form. So what we have here is the title. So this will be the title of the article that gets published on our website. So I'm going to choose the cybersecurity and online hygiene workshop that we held recently at SAVS. And then we have event types here. And essentially all this means is if it's training, then please select the community training option, or if it's a community event, then please select the community event option. There might also be additional options that get added and removed in time. So right now you can see we've got a Better Start Southend Lunch and Learn session, which is used to promote those specific sessions that we're working with our colleagues in a Better Start Southend on. So because this was a training workshop, we're going to click Community Training. If the price of your session is free, what we would suggest is you type in free as opposed to typing in £0. However, if your session isn't free, what we would suggest is if you list the price on a per person basis. If there's any other conditions on the pricing, you can also put them here as well. So it could be that you have a pricing per organisation, or you need to add some clarifying details on the pricing itself. So we're going to pop in £10 per person, just as an example. And then when you click the start date, you'll have this really helpful drop-down calendar that will enable you to pick a specific date from the calendar. So we're going to choose the 17th of July. And the same with the start time. It will create a drop down as soon as you click on that field. So as you can see, we utilize a 12-hour clock for the start time as well as the end time. So if it's for 4 p.m., you'd simply click 4:00 and then just make sure that's changed to p.m. because you really don't want people turning up at 4 a.m. in the morning before they've had a shower and they've had their breakfast, because I think you might have some very cranky attendees, rightfully so, because I don't think I could make it to a 4 a.m. meeting. And likewise, if you need to do it in AM, then you would obviously just choose the start time and add that in. As for the end date, if your session starts and ends on the same day, you simply find the same date and then you would choose the time that it ends. So I'm going to choose 12 p.m. However, if it's a series of events that span a number of days, or if it's one event that spans a number of days, then obviously you would choose the dates that your series or event officially ends. What we would suggest if your event does span multiple days is that you simply click the first dates that it starts and then the last dates that it will end on, and then just add some clarifying details into the description. So, for instance, if you've got a series of events that have different themes and have different starting times and end times, here we can only select the start time and the end time for one period or one event. So what we would suggest is that you just add those details into the content so that people are aware of the different activities that might be provided on each session, as well as the different start and end times. And also it could be different locations as well. So we're going to stick to ours on the same day for this one. And please do make sure that you only choose the dates that are applicable to the events or training that you're putting on, because if the event doesn't correlate with the date that you've selected, this could cause delays with the promotion process, and once one of our staff members checks, they might come back to you for clarification on this. So please do double check that the dates do correspond exactly with your training or event. And then this section is a place where you can just let us know who the organizer is. So if you're working in partnership with another organisation, you can type in your organisation. So here we've got SAVS, and then we've put and Essex Police because we were working with Essex Police on this workshop. And then if you've got multiple partners, then you can always just add a comma in and say SAVS, Essex Police and Southend City Council as an example. For the location, if it's a physical location, what we would suggest is that you make sure that you copy and paste or include all of the relevant details so that people can find the location of your event. So the postcode, first line of address, the city, etc., etc. And if you are pasting, as you're probably aware from the previous videos, just make sure that you always click paste as plain text in every one of these fields, especially the description. So we're going to say that this event is hosted at SAVS. I won't put the address in, but it just gives you an idea of that there. If your meeting is online, what we would suggest you do is you simply type in online via Zoom or online via Teams or online via Google Meets or any other platform that you use for your online meetings. You can also add the event link here if you'd like by quickly popping in a colon and then copy and pasting the link here. However, most of the time for these events we all need some sort of booking or registration to them. So what we would suggest is that if you are creating an event or some training, that you create a booking form or a booking link, or you direct people to a link on your website where they can find out more information or contact you about the event. Because then that also drives traffic to your booking form or your website, and it allows you to keep track of how many people are coming to your session, especially if space is limited. So we're just going to pop in the event link for the online cybersecurity hygiene workshop. But you could also, like I mentioned, just add in a booking form into that instead. And if your event is in a physical location, what you would pop in there is much the same. You would pop in a booking form or just a website link to get more information. And as I mentioned earlier, if your event does span numerous days or has different activities within different time frames, then please use this section to not only explain what the event's about and encourage people to come along, but to also break down those separate days here too. And as you've watched the previous videos by now, if you haven't already, please do go back and watch the other videos. The first video in the series is the content submission process for news and information, and the second video in the series is focused on sector jobs. If you do want to submit a volunteering opportunity, which isn't something that we've covered much, although I did briefly mention it in the opportunities to get involved discussion of the first video, the best place to send that content is to the Southend Volunteer Hub. So what I'll do is I'll quickly open up that. It's got its own separate website, and then you can add in opportunities here, and you can see all of the latest opportunities as well. If you'd like to add an opportunity, you would click for organisations and then simply submit volunteering opportunities. And if you'd like to volunteer, you can view the current opportunities here. So that's just if you want to submit a volunteer opportunity, such as a trustee opening or a volunteer opportunity. And as by now you're probably all experts with how this process works. So we've talked about headings before and how paragraphs break up the content. We've talked about how you can format the text. If you'd like it to be bold, then you click bold. If you'd like it to be italic, then you can click italic. And then you can also bullet point or number the content too. You can also add a quote. And then hit the quote button again to get rid of the quote. And as you'll notice, it always defaults back to the paragraph option. And then you can also align content too, but we would suggest just always using align left because it appears best for all of the systems that we have. And if you'd like to add a link, just simply click insert link, and then you can copy and paste or manually type in your link here. And then these three options aren't really too relevant, so you can ignore these, and you can also ignore the text option as well. Like we've mentioned in the previous videos, the visual option is the best and easiest way to populate your content, and you can play around and identify how you would like your content to appear best here. And as with all of the other submission forms, the main image will need to be cropped to 800 by 600 pixels. And as I mentioned in the news and information video, Canva has a fantastic offer that's free for all non-profit organisations. It's a really simple application process and gives you access to a resizing tool, lots of free elements and free photos and templates. So if you don't already have a Canva account, then please do sign up, because if you're having trouble with resizing your pictures or your content to fit 800 by 600 pixels, they have a really, really good resizing tool that you can use for free. The reason why we ask for images to be submitted in 800 by 600 ratio is that if they aren't, they will be cropped automatically by our content system. So if you send a picture in that's bigger than this format, then it will automatically be cropped, and we won't have control over how that appears. So it's best to send us the image in this exact format and ratio. And if you'd like a flyer rather being added to your content, then what you can do is you can add the flyer here. It's the same upload process as the image. Just please make sure that the flyer is no wider than 1000 pixels. So we don't have a height limit for flyers, but we do have a width limit because of how our website is formatted and how the SAVS app basically scales the content so that it fits different screen sizes. And if it's wider than 1000 pixels for the flyer, it will be cropped, and you don't want your information to be cropped off in a similar format to, if you're sending something to print, you need to make sure that the sizings are correct, otherwise they're cropped when they are printed. And then it will ask for your name and your email address. Mine was pre-populated because I've sent in a submission before, as you saw when I was trying to reset the submission process. And then we would suggest just triple checking all of your content to make sure that it all appears okay, because once the content has been submitted, you won't be able to amend the submission and you'll have to contact us to change that for you. So once you're happy with everything and you're happy to submit, then you can click the submit option, and then you'll just get a helpful reminder that your content was submitted, and that will go into our content queue here at SAVS, and it will be promoted across our weekly email and social media as soon as possible. So that's all of the content submission forms. Like I said, this is a really exciting way for you to have control over your content, and also it will help us speed up the process to get your content promoted even quicker than before, and quicker than we ever have in the past. So we hope you find this process useful. If there are any comments that you'd like to add about this process, then please do send them across to media@savs-southend.co.uk, and then we will shape these forms from your feedback. So this is a new thing for SAVS. We've not asked for content to be submitted in this way before, but this will be the process moving forward because of new systems that we've added to the website since we overhauled the website and created the SAVS app. So these new systems will just make it a lot more easier for you, as well as a lot quicker for you as well. So thank you for listening to me for these three videos. I hope that it has been really easy to follow, and it looks very simple, and I'm sure you're raring to go to try it out. And to access these links, there will be a section on our website that directs you to them, and we will also be promoting the links across our weekly email as well, so you know exactly where you can submit content to us. And as we said, the media inbox will no longer be used for content submissions. Instead, we will have all of the content submitted through these forms. So if you do have any content, please do fill in these forms and make sure that the forms correspond to the type of content that you have. And we look forward to promoting your amazing work, the fantastic events that the sector put on so often, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you.